No. Oh, great. Now we're actually live.
Yeah, well, it's fine. I thought it was a bit that we were doing, and I'm like, oh, I'll do it. Why not? It wasn't a
No,
bit.
no.
Technology was just pooping itself as usual.
No, the Facebook, whatever you want to call it, loading or what have you, was taking way longer than usual.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I mentioned it, that's when it like sprung, and that's when you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shifting Lanes Live podcast. My name is Chad. That is Greg. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We have a show of shows today, and looking forward to chatting with Greg. Looking forward to chatting with everyone else. Should be a fun day, even if one of us may die on stream tonight. Probably shouldn't have said that in the first 5 minutes, but
This is our flu game stream.
Mm-hmm.
This is the flu game. I am sick with a cold. I have stuffy. I have raspy voice, which leads to epic movie voice when I go deep. And Chad has heartburn and or stuffiness as well. So this is gonna be as my voice cracks. This is gonna be a great one.
You said go deep.
Go deep with the voice crack, with the puberty voice crack at 41 years old. Nice. Whoa. Also nice. Love it. Yeah, we got a good show. We are going to talk about some car news as always, because car news is fun and talking about cars is fun.
Yeah,
we're here to have fun, lots of fun.
And yet you insist on making me talk about electric cars.
Well, I mean, it is a big topic, but I mean, part of that is part of that is what the GM president said about it, which is very interesting, which goes along the lines of what I made a video about the other day, which was regret of what they've canceled before.
Yes, General Motors filled with regrets.
No regrets. Just a nice tattoo right there. Mark Royce getting the no regrets tattoo.
Was he the one who spun a Z06 or whatever?
Oh, maybe. I want to say yes. That sounds very familiar.
Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. God damn
it.
No, Facebook, I don't want to create a reel. Thank you very much. That would be awkward.
We do that later.
What am I doing?
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get onto the producer on the back end, and
it's clearly not working out for you.
Well, I forget how to do this literally every time I'm back here. I swear it's you or Hanson's in the background moving where the buttons are.
My theory is that based on usage, they just move it.
Yeah, I hate that.
I know. It's annoying. But whatever. You got it now, I'm sure. I'm sorry, I've been sniffing your ear the whole time. But yes, let's talk cars. How is your car doing?
It's the same. I did finally hear back from one of the engine builders, and I sort of threw at him sort of a dream scenario, just because I was like, okay, let me know what the complete and total pain threshold for this would be. And yeah, so I went to the engine builder. I sent him an email basically asking, what I recently blew a ring in my motor. Obviously, it needs to be bored and honed. This company offers a re-sleeving service. If I wanted to say, do the re-sleeving, have the sleeve bored out to 3.7 inches, which is the same bore as the Predator. Headwork, all of that. What are we looking at price-wise? And so everyone knows, my ideal price point to get in would either be combination short block headwork being around somewhere between 12 and 16 grand. And this engine's about 20. So it's like,
just a bit outside.
So one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to have to just say that's just not it for this point in time. Just kind of a bummer. because well, that's what I want. But it's not the end of the world. Or you're gonna see like 72 reels a day from me for the next like 3 months.
I mean, that's a thing. Could happen.
It could, but for my sanity.
No. Yeah.
So just share all of our reels everywhere and help. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe, the new engine fund.
Yes. I will
yeah.
contribute $1 to help.
You're a gentleman and potentially a scholar.
Definitely not the latter.
Wire products.
Well, that's good. I mean, look, you have at least now you have sort of the information and the baseline, right? So you have, okay, well, here's your top end, and then you work your way down from there.
Right, and I knew pretty much that this was that what I was asking was going to be on the higher side. I mean, because like I still want to leave room in the budget because I got to do an intake manifold and a throttle body, and that's going to run me in the neighborhood of another $2,000. But which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but like this stuff starts to stack. Obviously, it starts to stack up, and we haven't even talked about Blue Sky putting everything together.
Right.
Oh, side note: I picked up some of the rear subframe stuff, not the rear subframe itself, but everything off of it. So brakes, stop the hop stuff, the differential. I had forgotten how ruinously heavy differentials are.
Dude, they are beefy MFers, that's for sure.
And I went to take it out of the car and I'm like, oh shit. I'm turning around to go to my garage and like it got hung up on the pocket on my hoodie.
Oh god.
And I was
not
like,
good.
Oh, something's gonna give either my hoodie or my back. And I'm frantically trying to save the hoodie and everything. It's
Yeesh.
literally half of my one garage bay is filled with Mustang parts right now. And the other half is filled with Mustang. So
double as you do.
So, but yeah, how's everything in Volvo land? Did you figure out what was leaking out of your wife's car?
No, not yet. I haven't had a chance to get up underneath it and look, but I looked in the top.
Underneath.
Get up underneath.
Sounds like an oxymoron.
I know. But I mean, I looked in the engine bay and there's nothing to really see from that side. So my guess is that it's either the same hose or a different hose that's leaking at the bottom. Nothing looks to be out of sorts in the engine bay from the top. So I just got to go underneath and take a quick look. But yeah, nothing. I'm still looking at little puddles on my floor. Some of them are fresh, so I'll have to just note that for like the next time I bring it in and be like, hey, you fixed this, right? Can you double check your work, please? But nothing crazy there. This car is fine. We'll see what happens when I try to take the wheels off this year, since I rocked Summers all winter last year, and it was just fine. So we'll see. We'll see. Nice. I'm hoping that they come off a little bit easier this year.
Did you use anti-seize last time?
I don't know. Ask Sean. He's the one that did the rotation on them because I had it in for an oil change with him, and he's just like, "I'll just do a rotation." I'm like, "Please do." And this was the time when I was like, "How'd you move the wheels?" And he just goes, "Hammer." I'm like, yeah,
yeah. Because when I did the
accurate
wheels on the Mustang, the first Mustang, I had to mule kick those suckers pretty damn hard to get them off.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing this year for sure.
Get it in like slow motion, so we can make like the opening scenes to Baywatch, but you trying to mule kick a tire or a wheel off a car.
That would be good. Maybe I'll do it on stream again, and it will actually take me 3 hours to get my wheels off, as opposed to 45 minutes.
Oh, I got to think of ways to do that because there'd be cool things to like,
It'd be a great reel.
like have a countdown for you to get one of the wheels off, and for I don't know, like whether it be stars or something, and if you do it, great. If you don't do it, I pick someone randomly in chat and send them a shirt.
Yes, I love that. That'd be great.
Things to think about when we're not actively doing a show. But
That's right.
Greg has sifted mercilessly through the internet today
Yes.
to find some talking points. So go.
Yes. So the first one actually involves good old-fashioned American muscle, but actually not a muscle car, sports car. C7 Corvette ZR1. Chad, very fast car. Am I correct?
It's up there.
Yeah. Well, we have a new record at a road race in Texas, and Texas is known for lots of amazing things. Barbecue being one of them. The Houston Astros not being one of them, because screw the Houston Astros. But the BBORR.
Aren't you a Red Sox fan?
I am, but
Okay.
I still hate the Astros for cheating and being just generally douchebags.
Right, but Red Sox.
Well, yeah, but Houston's in the American League now, so I can hate them even more.
But the Red Sox did this. Anywho, 700 horsepower Corvette. Just went
Yes.
fast in
Yeah, it went
Texas.
super fast.
Continue.
Yeah. So in Texas, what they have is called the BBORR, and it stands for Big Bend Open Road Race. Now, what this is it basically is a 59-mile stretch of highway, and it's Highway 285 in Texas. And it's between two different towns, Fort Stockton and Sanderson. And what the competitors of this race do is they run from one town to the other, basically, and it's 59 miles between them. And it's basically a dead shot right from one to the other. However, there are turns in each direction. They're just very, very big, fast sweeper turns. These are not like, it's not like very twisty. So what they do is they run the course in each direction for a total of 118 miles. And the average of those two runs is used to basically give you your overall result. So, land speed record runs, you got to do the average back and forth, right? Essentially the same sort of setup here. So the previous record was held by a guy named Tom Whalen in a 2002 Corvette, who had an average of 172.696 miles an hour back in 2013. Now, just think about that number for a minute. 59 miles in each direction. The average was 172. Like, that is
Walking pace?
yeah. I mean, that is an insane number for a road car. That is like race car numbers.
Now, is that with like is this from a standing start? That's
So that I haven't been able to I didn't do that deep of a dive, but what I understand is you have a start line and then you just kind of go. I don't think it's a rolling thing. I think it is a standing start. But we can find that out in short order as Chad looks it up. But essentially, there's a new record holder for this because a 2019 Corvette ZR1, the C7 generation, ended up beating the 2002 Corvette and did a new average speed record of 173.004 miles an hour. It's not that much faster, but when you're talking about 173 as an average for 118 miles, it's pretty freaking epic. And the craziest part about this is that this car was going so fast and generated so much heat, it legitimately melted the rear bumper. Like, it didn't come off or anything, but it looks just horrible because the exhaust it was so hot back there that the whole rear bumper just warped and melted. It's crazy looking. And it's also really interesting because this is not a cheap car. Like a 2002 Corvette built up, you can get some pretty cheap speed out of that. This is a C7 ZR1. Like, these go on the secondhand market right now for like 200 to 250 grand. So, like, you're not spending that kind of money to buy a 2002 Corvette and build it to go that fast. You might spend like 70, 80, 90 grand to get a really nice build going, but you're not spending 200 grand. That's for sure. So it's really interesting to note that it did that. But look, 2019 ZR1, 755 horsepower, 6.2 liter V8. You don't need to really do a build on it. It's just fast. The guy that did it this year, John Arnault, did it, and it is quite insane to think about doing 118 miles and averaging 173 miles an hour. Like, when I get up there on the highway, and like I've been up there, triple digits, not like crazy high, but
kilometers per hour.
Yeah, but even on track driving, getting up there to like 150, 160, your brain starts to like warp a little bit, and your vision starts to go like, oh, we're going a pretty ridiculous amount of speed now. Just to average 173 is pretty nuts. And I think what they said was the top speed this thing hit during the top speed it hit during this was 213. So ZR1 very fast.
Yeah, and obviously this is modified.
Yeah.
Because like obviously the wing, the roof.
Yeah. You need some downforce.
Oh, they have the wind. That's what that's for. I was trying to figure out what this is for, but it's to keep the window in place.
Yes.
Because in case you were wondering, when the cars hit ridiculously sustained speeds, low pressure areas want to suck your windows out. My question is, Greg, why, and I guess Tony echoes it, but like, how did going fast melt the rear bumper?
Because what happens is what happened with this car is it generated so much heat out of the exhaust from going that fast for that long that the heat just slowly cooked the rear bumper. That's it. I think that's just because of how much heat was literally coming out of the backside of that car. I'm trying to find a little bit more of an explanation here. Let's see.
Right, because what I'm saying is if you're going 100 miles an hour, let alone 200 miles an hour, the exhaust comes out at velocity.
Yeah. And
you're going at a velocity in the opposite direction. This honestly looks like the result of a bad flame tune, if I'm being completely honest.
Right. No, 100%.
I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just using that to draw a comparison.
Yeah. No, you're correct. If you have bad flame tunes, you can definitely melt rear bumpers. But it says here in the article, which is the paragraph I didn't see before. So the whole reason is there is no exhaust system really per se. It has Cook's headers, AWE straight pipes, and no muffler.
Right, but the exhaust still exits at the exhaust tip.
True. Yes. So it generates quite a bit of heat. And they're still working on figuring out the exact cause of the melted bumper so he can remedy it in time for the next BBORR event in April. So they don't know the root cause per se, but they think it's due to the modified exhaust system. My guess is that the wing and the... Oh, God, I'm going to forget the name of the thing on the bottom of the car with the slats.
The diffuser?
Thank you, diffuser. Holy. Sorry, I have sick brain going on right now. I forgot the word "and" today. The diffuser and the wing probably created some sort of vortex right near the bumper that just recycled heat. That's my guess. Or it came from up underneath the car and just pushed it towards the rear bumper from the middle of the car somehow. I don't know. I'm just randomly throwing out ideas because I think anyone's guess is as good as mine at this point.
Huh. No, I'm just trying to read up on it. By the way, it's not a straight road. I mean, it's straight.
It's not straight, but like it's big bends. So like they said, where was that one thing? He took the final two 45-degree corners at 190. So these are like big, huge, sweeping bends. These are not like, slow down to first gear, do a hairpin, and then keep going. It's not. This is not that kind of road. I don't think that really exists in Texas much.
Huh.
It's pretty wild.
The only reason I say like look, like people were there, people who built the car, whatever, are saying that it was because of the exhaust. I'm sitting here looking at it from the standpoint of if there's that much of a low pressure area that's pulling the heat from the exhaust straight up into that bumper like that and not really touching the carbon fiber underneath it, it looks like.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. That's a shit ton of drag.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to like.
Right. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what it is because they'll find it, I'm sure, because they want to run this car again in April. So gonna be interesting to watch and gonna be interesting to figure out what the hell did this. Either way, car go fast. It's awesome.
I knew the car wasn't behaving right and all added. I didn't really know why, but I knew I don't make excuses.
Yeah, I like this guy.
So I just drove harder. We got to the finish line and we looked at our clock according to our time equipment, and we did what we set out to do. We're very proud of that. The damage. I went back to the park, got out of the car, and we're shaking up the beer and spraying at each other, celebrating. We're taking pictures, and we went to the front to celebrate. Then made it back of the car and almost fell over with shock. The plastic composite bumper melted due to the exhaust as an excessive continuous heat. I guess. That's wild.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a GoPro pointing at the rear of his car next run, I'm going to... it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, extra weight and drag, but who cares? You got to find out.
Right. And like I said, I understand that, but like if you look at like CFD models, the diffuser just doesn't let the air go like that.
Yeah.
Right? The diffuser, when a car is driving, let me just say here, the air comes out and, the air comes out and goes like this, away from the car.
Right.
So what's happening is that there's got to be some sort of vortex going on, which is another word for drag. I mean, again, I'm not saying that's not what happened. I'm just sitting here saying I would expect a car that was going almost 220 miles an hour and averaged over 170 miles an hour. That just seemed like a lot. And I like how on the back of it, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Oh my God. But if you look, it says, I guess someone autographed it, but
yeah, it says like fake something.
No, it says ass on fire.
Oh, ass on, yeah, I see it now. Ass on fire. That's great.
So, I mean, I'll say this. I think it's really cool. This sort of stuff still exists.
Yes. Very much yes.
You know, obviously this is a very well put together car to do the speeds that it's obviously doing. There's a full roll cage in it. Like I said, it's got all of this bracing to keep. I'm guessing that did they make Targa ZR1s? I can't remember. But it has all this like.
I think every ZR1 is a Targa, isn't it? Technically. I thought it was. I forget honestly. I thought it was, but
I always thought they were cool. But as we've said ad nauseum on this show, I prefer the older Vets just because I don't know. I like displacement over boost.
Yeah, I agree. Like we talked about. C6 is the best, I think.
So, but no, like like I said, the fact that events like this still happen, that if you go, I was looking at another article, there's literally state troopers sitting at the starting and finish lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all on the up and up, but like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
that little bit of that outlaw spirit that makes us love cars.
Exactly.
Specifically modifying them and having, you know, fun, we'll say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is cool to see stuff like this still happen because, you know, so many legislative bodies want to basically outlaw driving in certain ways and outlaw cool cars in certain ways. And, you know, it's refreshing to see something like, oh, public road, let's shut that down. You want to go fast? Go for it.
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
That's
And not only is it something like
cool.
a hill climb where like the terrain features itself sort of moderates speed, it's
Right.
like, no, go as fast. I think the record for this is over 200 miles an hour average.
No, so the record it said was 172 from that 2002 Corvette, or was that just the Corvette record?
I'm not. I have to go back to. I was in another article where I saw it.
So it said. So the Facebook post says a huge congratulations to John Anult for setting a new top average speed record at Big Bend Open Road Race, blazing through the course with an incredible average speed of 173.004. So this is the overall record.
Huh. Well, I'll get to 200 and then I'll.
Yeah.
No,
someone bring the Bugatti Chiron Super Sport. Let's see what happens.
I mean, yeah. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, you could easily break that record with some of the engines that are available, I'll say.
Oh,
You know.
for sure.
At any rate, Tony goes, I want the supercharger sounds. How do I put this? Yes, that supercharger, that Hellcat owner's, that's the mating call of the Hellcat.
Sure is.
It's, some superchargers make a lot of noise, some don't. Some, to hear the noise, you need an open element filter that's open, not an enclosed system. So on the one side, awesome. On the other side, it's like, oh, open element. Because open element generally increases all intake noises. So, and to be fair, I don't think I've seen many Corvettes with blowers that have that noticeable whine.
Yeah, it's not as pronounced for sure.
Sorry, water of all things kind of got stuck. No, because I remember when I got the I got the centrifugal on the Silver Mustang for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, Vortec makes great stuff. Number two, the price was correct. We'll call it that. And I also love blow off valve noises, which
Yes.
which that centrifugal superchargers provide. Also, one of the funniest things about the blow-off valve was it had its own little miniature cone filter on it, which I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, just a tiny little thing.
Oh, yeah, they're and I went with them. They're like, "What blow-off valve do you want?" I go, "I want the rowdiest one," which was awesome because on liftoff it made the psh. But it's not.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember with the supercharger, because it's connected to the engine, it's not like a turbo where it's once. It's once.
Yeah.
So
Takes a while.
it would constantly make noise unless it like you were on boost. So if
Right.
you were doing low RPM or low load stuff, I should say, it wasn't shutting. So like there was a constant, it wasn't omnipresent and like, oh my God, this is annoying, but it was there. And also centrifugals can be on the noisier side. Sean,
Right.
welcome, my dude. how's our favorite Viking movie star doing? But no, this sort of stuff is really cool. Um, I've been watching some like Cletus videos and stuff. And I'm like, damn it! Now I want to get back into drag racing, but I'm like, I don't want to do that with look, going fast in a manual is awesome. I also don't want to go drag racing with the manual because it is absolutely abusive to clutches.
Yes.
Because of the very nature of how you accelerate off the line using a clutch. Newsflash is short version of that story is you accelerate with the clutch, not the throttle. So it's not a off the clutch and go, it's a off the clutch and go.
Yeah.
And I don't. There's part of me that fuck it, I'll go back to the track and do it, like whatever. And then there's another part of me. It's like, or I could go find like an old S197. If I buy a new short block for my car, that means I'll have a Gen 3 just lying around. And build a drag car. Then it's like, listen, dipshit, you can't afford the $20,000 engine you want. What makes you think you could build a race car? But it's all that sort of stuff. That's why I'm like looking forward to some of the hill climb events next year, and doing sort of that grassroots motorsports stuff. Tony goes, I've never launched my manuals a single time. Seems awful, but I want to. It's a skill you should have, I would say. But I'll put it to you another way. Before the Silver Mustang got its boost, so when it had the long tube headers, the intake manifold, and was making a little over 455 wheel horsepower, I went to the track a lot. And I was either slipping the clutch in first or doing a pretty aggressive clutch dump. Not a clutch dump, but it wasn't like this. It was more like, it was a faster release of the clutch pedal in second gear to sort of mimic the slip of slipping it in first. Also, first gear in those first gear in most modern manuals is borderline useless for anything other than literally being a way to not murder the clutch in day-to-day driving, which I guess is a thing you want. But I abused the hell out of my clutch. Now, it wasn't worn out, but what it did do was all of the friction material on one side of the clutch was Thanos snapped out of existence.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can find that picture. Nope, not that. It's not going to be there. So like I said, it's a skill you should have. You should know. I mean, not for nothing. Not that you didn't get it when you were driving the Porsches, but what you call it? Obviously, there are going to be times where people are being idiots next to you at a light, and at some point, you seem like a very mild-mannered individual and a reasonable and slightly more mature individual than the rest of us. You might say, you know what, I'm sick of these little Hondas buzzing around me. Time to show them some true speed. And then off the light, they scamper away and you're just sitting there either stalled out or literally burning rubber, which obviously in public situations can be fun, but I wouldn't recommend it as something. Why don't I have this video anymore? Where did it go? Jeff sent it to me. All right, I will continue to look for that. I don't want to derail everything.
That's all good.
But the like I said, not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure Corvettes have launch control that's pretty good, especially in manuals. And street tires are meant to grip on asphalt, not prepped concrete. So that's also something working in your favor.
Yeah.
Greg,
Yes.
do you have any driving tips or advice before we move on to the next thing?
Um, I drive an automatic, so I'm going to go ahead and plead the fifth here.
You loser.
um, no, not really. I have found it interesting that in driving manuals over time that they so many of them you got to drive differently. Like the difference between my old WRX, the Aston Martin, and like the Evo 10, and what was it? The manual ATSV. Like just the differences in those four cars. Oh, and you can put the Civic Type R in there too. Like those like five cars are like very drastically different cars, but the way that the manuals are set up is so different. Like the Aston, you had to almost drive it like the way Freddie told me to drive it was you have to like roll the clutch out and let it grab and then roll onto the accelerator, as opposed to like, the WRX where you would just, bring it up to revs and then let the clutch out like you would any normal manual.
I believe that was Freddie being Freddie, though.
No, he's 100% correct, because the way that I mean, look.
You forget I drove that car.
I know that was the proper way to do it. I never said that I did that all the time, but it's the Graziano or Graziani. I forget what it's how it's spelled or how it's pronounced. That's a pretty stout 6-speed. It's the same 6-speed that's in the Gallardos. So like, it's a very stout transmission, and it's a very stout clutch. It's not there's not a lot of power behind that car that you're like going to be frying the clutch pretty easily. But it was very interesting to see the difference in that and doing that technique. And I'm like, oh, this makes a lot more sense to be driving it smoothly in traffic, like for just normal, everyday driving. If you're in backed up traffic, like that was fine. But normal everyday driving, I just drove it like any normal transmission or normal manual is fine. But then like the Evo 10, you had like this much travel between the bottom of the clutch to get to the grabbing point. And I'm like, this manual sucks. I hate this car only because of the transmission and the clutch and the grabbing point. It was awful. I'm like, why do people like driving this? The driving experience is okay, but like the entire shifting gears in that car ruined that car for me. The Civic Type R had a very similar sort of scenario. It wasn't like insane, but it was a solid 2 to 3 inches of travel before a grab point. And I'm like, isn't this supposed to be better than this?
Well,
but, man, the WRX was very good in that sense. It had a really solid grab point. It had a really nice sweet spot. It was not difficult to drive at all, and it was the opposite of what everyone had told me about it. So I don't know. It's just when you're driving a manual, you really gotta like drive it and hone in on it, because every one of them is going to be a little bit different.
And it's all experience. Like the more
right.
like that's why I sit here and say, like, people are sitting here. It's like, I bet you don't like that manual in bumper to bumper in traffic or on a long commute. I'm like, actually, I don't care. People don't realize. For a solid, probably almost a year and a half of my life, I drove from where I live to. I'm going to start spouting off New Jersey town names like anyone else in here is actually from Jersey. But the short of it is that with no traffic, it was like a 40-minute drive. With traffic, it was like an hour and a half. And I daily drove a manual at the time. And I daily drove a manual that didn't make a ton of torque down low. 2JZs are great. The naturally aspirated ones don't make a shit ton of torque down low. But since we were talking about clutches, I had to go to the YouTube to find it. I don't have the raw video, which is annoying because there's text in the way. But that is all clutch dust that Jeff, our beautiful mechanic, is pulling out of Like, I wasn't kidding when I said it was Thanos snapped out of existence. And that's the pressure plate that used to
Yeah.
have friction material on it. Because as you'll see, the other side still does. And that wasn't
It was not good.
and that wasn't me. That wasn't a at the track. Um, that wasn't an at the track thing. That was I was pulling out of a side street. I got on it a little bit, but not like excessively in second gear. And I lifted and I just heard poof. I was like, huh, what was that? Yeah, it kept working because I guess it was hot. But then the clutch did not want to do anything after that.
Yeah. Like, that's what they mean by the MT82 sucks. Got it.
No, it wasn't the MT82 at all. It was great. No friction material.
No, that's what your mind went to first, I'm sure.
I mean, there was a thought that but it's usually third gear that, goes the way of the not feeling so good, Mr. Stark. But but no, and because at the time we were going to do everything but the supercharger install. So we were going to do the drive shaft, the transmission, all of that, but not the supercharger, I think. Because obviously to take the clutch out, you got to, pull the transmission out or whatever. So it's like, and then it went from, no, it was, what the hell were we going to do? We're only going to do some minor stuff. I think it was the drive, and the drive shaft and the axles or something like that. I can't remember, but it wasn't the full-on build. And then it went from that, and then in a span of 3 months to, all right, Jeff, put everything in it. So so it literally went from, I'm going to space this out to, okay, it's going to be gone for a couple months while they put the supercharger, the fuel system, the transmission, the drive shaft, the axles, the stop the hop, the catch can, the
Yeah.
Because I think I had all of the parts, or I was waiting on a couple. And Jeff's like, dude, you're gonna spend an extra grand. You're gonna spend an extra $1,000 to $3,000 if you space it out. I was like, all right, fine. I'll take the gut punch of the labor now.
Yeah. Good call.
So, Shango, speaking of transmissions, I'm looking at the T45 from the Mustang now for the eventual LS swap. The T45.
Yo, what's a T45? The only T's I know of are the T56 and the T1000. One from a transmission and one from a Terminator movie.
You absolutely know a T5.
Well, yes, I do know T5, but because that's the Borg Warner transmission, right?
T5 is a Borg Warner design, while the T45 is a Tremec design.
Yeah.
Tremec later bought Borg Warner, but not everything. Mustang. T45 manual transmission was engineered and manufactured by Borg Warner. That's according to Midwest Transmission Center. So transmission installed behind the 4.6 liter engine. There are differences between the Mustang and the Cobra transmission, mostly dealing with the transmission mount, crossmember, and speedo gears.
So it's a Tremec transmission, but built by Borg Warner after the acquisition? Is that what I heard correctly?
I don't know. Because one was off a forum. So I'm not going to use the StangNet forum post. I'm going to go off of the place that's a transmission. Hey, CJ Pony Parts has something on it.
Nice. They're a reputable source.
T5 was around for well over a decade and introduced a new Before Ford introduced a new transmission to accompany the overhead cam style engines, they begun to equip their GTs and Cobras with the T45. Though the T45 is frequently forgotten, its features make it more desirable than the T5. It was replaced by the TR3650 in short order. It was truly the middle child of Ford transmissions, despite its more impressive achievements, it had some awkward growing pains. There are a few contributing factors to these problems to help some shed on leverage short range. It was designed to work with overhead. I love how it's the first transmission designed to work with the overhead cam style of the new engine. I didn't realize that had anything to do with the transmission design. So the TR 3650 would last from 2001 to 2010. So this has got to be the transmission they used. So they used this from 97 to 2000. Okay.
Okay.
T45's issues that it was being produced in the middle of major transition within Ford. Tremec took over the production of Ford's manual transmissions from Borg Warner, starting with the T45. This means that some of the T45 OEM parts are made by one company, while others are manufactured by the other. People swear there's a difference in quality. Versus who made what. Most people will tell you that first year production of anything, figure out little fixes, make product go from good from great. Unfortunately for the T45, it didn't get that buffer period. It took a while for Tremec to find the small flaws they needed to be fixed. By the time they found and addressed some of the issues, they had a new transmission to launch. These minor fixes, manufactured, production, Tremec. Let's see here. From 96 to 98, used the 7-tooth speedometer gear. Cobra's used an 8-tooth. And in 99, the Cobra moved to an electronic sensor. I'm trying to help Sean out here. I should probably just send him this article.
I was just going to say, just send him this link.
So, in 1998, the 3/4 shift fork was improved. Unfortunately, for the 96 and 97 Mustang, they have a weaker 3/4 shift fork. This is a common upgrade for the older versions of transmission, though it's time-consuming and but it is worth the peace of mind. Some of the issues with upgrading a T45 revolve around how little aftermarket support there is for it, especially in comparison to the T5 and the TR 3650. For many parts, the T5 replacements will work.
Hey, keep going with this. I'll be right back.
Okie dokie. So, I think the aftermarket T56 transmission with 27. There's always ways to improve the T45 transmission. If you're interested in maintaining the T45 rather than replacing it, best way is to modify the transmission, addressing the weaknesses that were present at manufacture. For example, the input shaft is known to be overly fragile, so upgrading to a 31-spline slip yoke can improve durability of your transmission. If it's an earlier one, you want to do the shift fork. Upgrading the T5 to off-support. Comparison to the T5 and T3. With many the T5 replacements, for example, a lot of people when looking to upgrade to go for the shifter go for the TR 3651, but the T5 shifter will be a better fit. Okay. I kind of know where you're going with that car, and I don't know why. I'm guessing it's cost, but what brings you to that? Because I mean, let's just see what. They're under. What's the other one? Tremec TR 3650. Shopping. You might want to look into the Unless, of course, you're getting it at some sort of deal or whatever. You might want to look into the... Because based on what I'm seeing price-wise, it's only a... In most cases, it's a little bit more expensive, but not by much. Only like $100 here or there. Might be worth looking into the TR 3650. I mean, it was made for less time, and if it has a fragile input shaft, you're not going to want to, like, spinning it to the RPMs you want to spin your... So, just so this isn't a conversation between me and Sean, Sean has a Volvo that he wants to LS swap down the line. We're years away from it, but it will eventually happen because Sean is a determined fellow. Eventually, he's going to put a 5.3 LS in it. And the goal with that is to spin the LS pretty high RPM-wise. As I learned today... given RPM, LS torque, like, I mean, it shouldn't really, it's not, I don't know. But, at any rate, and he's looking for manual transmission options, which, praise be to Jesus, for that. But, given, I mean, CJ Pony Parts is a pretty reputable, aftermarket seller for like Mustang stuff and a lot of stuff, but Mustang stuff, number one, CJ Pony. Imagine that. I have no reason to, I would go with what they say. And like I said, I was looking at it. I was like, these things are ranging from like a used one for about $1,000 to like some are, what is this? I fucking hate sites like this. Google, just send me where I want to go. So, like, Extreme Performance will sell a Tremec TR 3650 transmission for all in $2,000. And it looks to be a newer, refurbished version of it. Let's see if I can get on their site. I know T5s, depending on which T5 you... Aha, here we go. Why can't I click that? Mustang Tremec TR 3650 transmission on sale with exclusive pricing and our own website. We have improved design flaws upgraded to the max. Really, man. 2001 to 2009 Mustang GT and Cobra models with the manual box. Revolutionary design. And this can hold more torque. It does require a core, though. So, back to where we started. I don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with. But, I mean, the pricing seems... I mean, yeah, it's coming from a junkyard. But what I'm saying is like, if you can find the other one, is the junkyard gonna know? And not for nothing, you have years to figure this out. I just wasn't getting warm fuzzies from that CJ Pony Parts article. CJ Pony Parts. There we go. Warm fuzzies about it. And like I said, I did a cursory search, and like eBay and stuff, it didn't. The pricing was the same. So like, that's all. I mean, it's good that you're finally coming over to the Mustang world. Pretty soon you'll be putting a mod motor in that piece. At any rate, so like, yeah, I mean, if it were me, I'd be on the lookout for like a 2001 to whenever the new Edge ended, which was, god damn it, '05. Oh, it might be harder to find. But what did? Now I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. What? Did they have? Oh, so let's see here. I hate Google AI. It is so dumb for some of these car questions. Early on, the S197s did come with that 3060, 3050, 3650. There we go, words. So, just stuff to be on the lookout for. I mean, most junkyards, if I'm being honest, I don't know why I just popped that out, but most junkyards, if I'm being honest, won't know the difference. So that works in your favor. At any rate,
Hello, sorry about that.
Sorry, manual. Sean unlocked the manual transmission tism.
That's all good. I needed to go deal with the children things. So good. I'm glad the time was focused on manuals.
Yes. Something one day will teach Greg how to drive.
Yes. For all those cars that I owned that I couldn't drive.
Yes, all of the cars that you currently own that are manuals.
Owned, past tense.
Back when you used to be cool.
Oh, come on. We both know I was never cool.
True. Although you have made great strides from being in marching band. I will say that.
That's super facts right there. That's all right. That's damn straight.
I'm several waters deep, so
yeah, you go now.
Yeah, there you go, Sean. But like I said, like because it's not like a tomorrow thing, T5 good, T45 slightly better as long as you make that fork and input shaft mods. TR 3650 better. So Bolo, be on the lookout. But at any rate, I need to make an exit. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
Exit stage left. Yes. So how about this? While you're gone, I can't, where's my tab? Oh, he's already gone. I'll tee up sort of the next, I'll tee up the next topic. And I'm sure Chad will be watching, as he always does when he urinates during stream. So the next thing we have to talk about, it's I'll be honest, it's slightly boring, but it is interesting in the sense of persnickety Europeans. But basically, what's going on in Europe is they are now trying to the EU specifically, they're trying to accept U.S. vehicle standards, and it's part of the trade deal they did with the U.S. And of course, as we all know, with what's going on with tariffs and blah blah blah, the trade deal that they accepted was also for them to sort of start accepting U.S. vehicle standards. Now, the U.S. vehicle standards are lower by pretty much every metric than the EU ones. The EU ones are just absurdly high, mostly with crash safety and things like that. However, the US is no slouch in crash safety as far as that's concerned. You still have to have a metric ton of safety measures. It's not like you're selling unsafe cars here in the US versus the EU. It's just the EU sort of just goes way above and beyond on that and that kind of thing. And this article that I pulled and I found on it's from Transportate. Transportate. Holy shit, I can talk. Transportenvironment.org. It's called T&E, and basically it's telling us that and I'll read directly from the article. The deal agreed over the summer states that with respect to automobiles, the United States and the European Union intend to accept and provide mutual recognition to each other's standards. Yet EU vehicle safety regulations have supported a 36% reduction in European road deaths since 2010. By contrast, road deaths in the US over the same period have increased 30%, with pedestrian deaths up 80% and cyclist deaths up 50%. Now, that tells us a whole bunch of different stuff. It tells us that they're, one, cherry picking data to make their own point. Two, these are accurate data points. Road fatalities have definitely gone up in the United States since 2010. But this is what I mean by like cherry picking data. They're talking about data points without the backing behind them. We're talking about things in the US where smartphones since 2010 have become drastically more prevalent and widely available and adopted by basically everybody. And I think the first iPhone came out, in 2008, 2009, right? Maybe even 2006, 7, I forget. But it's the late 2000s, right? Or even early 2010s when the first iPhone came out. But it's right around that time. And that's when smartphones really started to sort of take hold. And it's also the time when people started to get distracted in their driving by a factor of 100. So they have had to basically retool the entirety of cars around the smartphone with different safety technology. It's a huge driving reason behind self-driving cars is to take the onus off the driver, because the driver no longer cares. Like, that's sort of how Americans by and large drive. They don't care about driving. The Europeans by and large do care about driving. They enjoy driving a lot more than most Americans do. It's just how it works. Europeans are it's also why you see way more manuals in Europe than in the United States, because Americans don't want to do the rowing their own thing. They want just a appliance that takes them from A to B. And yes, that's what Europeans want as well, but they also tend to enjoy the actual, thing of driving more, the actual task of driving more than Americans do. So to say that say that these like road deaths are part of this thing, and say it has to do with safety standards and adopting car safety standards is wildly inaccurate. So off the bat, this article is basically just trying to do confirmation bias. And, Chad and I were talking about this earlier, Europeans also don't drive as much as Americans do. Like, there's a biblically better public transportation system throughout the entirety of Europe than exists here in the United States. And the United States also has way more land between things than Europe does. Europe is basically just cram-packed full of cities and people. And yes, there's countrysides, but like Texas is basically like 7 countries in Europe. It is way more spaced out here.
You can fit the biggest country in Europe, Ukraine, inside of Texas.
Exactly. So like, there's a reason why Europeans do not drive as much as Americans do. They don't have to. So the other part of this is, well, safety aside and cherry picking this data, what else is at risk here? Well, the other side of it is European air quality and health. And it goes on to say job threats and existing import loopholes. And it's just like, look, if this is part of that trade deal, fine, whatever. But to blatantly say that U.S. safety standards are going to put lives at risk in Europe, and that's the whole footing of this argument, it begs the question, do you even know what you're talking about? Because just looking at traffic deaths is not even close to what should be happening with any of this. So U.S. safety standards for cars are almost as good as European cars. And in some areas, they are better than, because of differentiated safety systems. The biggest sticking point to this is big pickup trucks and big SUVs, because Europe doesn't have them by and large. And pedestrian safety and overall safety from big trucks and SUVs is definitely lacking, especially in pedestrian and bike safety, because if you stand in front of a Corvette and if you stand in front of a Chevy Silverado, one driver is probably going to be able to see you a lot easier than the other. Especially if you take a sedan, a Chevy Malibu versus a Chevy Silverado. It's very hard to see a pedestrian in a truck when they're standing right in front of you. So I think the whole point behind this argument is adopting U.S. safety standards for cars isn't going to be the problem. It's getting people to sort of know the information before they make a rash decision. Yeah.
Look, I think if you're messing around with what is it, the safety regulations or whatever,
right? Like safety standards, they're basically just calling U.S. cars unsafe, which is what it boils down to, which is factually incorrect.
I mean, that just sounds like a bunch of people who've never actually set foot on the moon.
Yeah, freedom units.
You know, inches. Countries using inches to reach the moon. 1. Countries using the metric system to reach the moon. 0. Scoreboard. We're pitching a shutout.
Scoreboard.
But no, like, but I will say this: if you're messing around with safety standards, the general public has you have an obligation to inform the general public. So fine, let them know. And generally speaking, I mean, how many European cars do you get in? Or let's just back it up a second. How many small European cars are not over here? And how many of those small European cars aren't designed for the American road, the American average, because let's face it, most people over in Europe, they drive some variation of a hatchback. That's their crossover. Although I do think crossover sales are increasing, but they're the tiny ones.
Right.
You know, we generally just drive bigger cars.
We have a lot more space to be able to drive bigger cars too.
Well, that's also it. Like our
think about driving a Ford Explorer on the back roads of an Italian village. Like, you're gonna have a bad time.
Should have looked both ways, Giuseppe.
I was thinking more along the lines of getting that thing wedged between two buildings. Which would happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just European driving and American driving are vastly different. Because even if you're in the countryside, the roads are smaller, roads are narrower.
Yes.
All that. They're very different. So should they have different regulations? Absolutely. Because But on the flip side of things, you still do have motorways, you still have the autobahn, you still have the autostrada, you have, you know, there's still open roads and stuff like that. I look at it this way, right? I've said for a long time that there should be some middle ground that almost everyone of the major countries that produce cars, America, I know Europe's not a country, but I'm not going to list off every European country that makes a car. We don't have that kind of time. Japan, Korea, etc. There should be some standard. So this way, you know, out of one factory in America, you build the Gregson 9000, and there's three different variants depending on what market it's going to.
Good car.
Or the bones of it, right, are different.
Yeah.
You know, we should look at this from both sides. Do we want cars to be safe? Yes, we do, obviously. Have cars been... do we live in an era where cars are the safest they've ever been? Also, yes. And again, the other part of that is... But you also do have... But again, you want to look at it from the standpoint of how do we do this in such a way that it's good for manufacturers so that, I don't know, the economy of scale goes up. You're building one quote-unquote global car. And who knows? This is a radical thought, but who knows? Maybe the price of the damn car might go down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you standardize things so that everyone has to do the same thing. That sounds like a pretty decent cost-cutting measure. So you don't have to create 18 different variants globally. And wow, Toyota Camrys are 25 grand again. That's amazing.
You know, it's
instead
just,
of 45.
I look at this as something that is, what's the way to put this? I'll sort of end it with this, and then we can move on. Because I think this is a non-story.
It sort of is. It's just
at the end of the
just pissed me off.
At the end of the day, there are going to be companies that build quote unquote safer cars than others. Famously, that's been Volvo, Saab, those. Back in the day, Mercedes were actually very over-engineered and very, very safe.
Agree.
And you're going to have car companies who are going to do the absolute bare minimum legally required of them to sell a car at a price point that appeals to more people.
Mm-hmm. Fiat.
I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
Every manufacturer is guilty of this in some way. Yeah. That is no, I'm not even just a mass produced, because like your supercars and stuff are going to be as safe as the law requires and no safer because safety adds weight.
Sure does.
But I think a general premise of this sentiment, of this whatever, is in certain places under certain, we'll call it governments or regime or what have you, it has become trendy. And I'm not saying you have to like or dislike or whatever. I'm not going there. But it has become trendy to sort of dump on the current American administration. Or dump on America in general.
Yeah. I think that's more of the sentiment. It's just, and I
Again,
think that's
I'm not saying
for
right
last,
or wrong.
10
I'm
years.
not sitting here saying I like it or I don't like it. I want my political viewpoints to be a mystery on this show.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has nothing to do with politics. I think it's more of just like, it's very easy to use Americans as a target of the punchline. And that's been the case for the last like 10, 15 years. I don't think it has anything to do with current state, though that probably is part of it, but it's not like this hasn't been the sentiment for a while. Like, oh, Americans are all so dumb. Like, no, you could really enjoy all of those pharmaceutical benefits. That's been mostly from us. You know, all the stuff that, you know, is saving your lives. basically the world over, it's almost all from us. So you're welcome. So,
Hey, Europe, how's that speaking German going for you?
yeah, exactly. You're welcome. Twice. Deuces. So yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, it's just one of those. It's just one of those things, right? Like, yes, you want cars to be objectively safer. Then guess what? Here's the minimum. It becomes a selling point for a manufacturer. Our cars are affordable and safer. We go above and beyond. We go, like, what have you? Like, at the end of the day, all of this tech that they're talking about, I think in the article it said that was compulsory in Europe, was, you know, the deformation zones in the front of the what's it called, the automatic braking and all that other sort of stuff. All of that tech costs money, right? Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. I'm sitting here saying that if you're going to make it a requirement, then you shouldn't sit here and say that and go, oh, I don't understand why the average purchase price of a brand new car, we'll use America because I know the statistic, but equate that to whatever, rinky-dink European country it is $50,000. That is categorically absurd.
Yeah.
Cars should not be that expensive. And there's a lot of factors that play into it. But some of the safety stuff, and frankly, should you make bumpers out of the, should all cars have the Deer Slayer front bumper, right? No, I'm not saying that. But I think everyone watching knows fully damn well how I feel about all of this catering to pedestrians. Should we try to make it safe for that sort of stuff? Yes. Is the safest car to pedestrian impacts, is all of the stuff they're putting in that car going to make a lick of difference when that car's going 40 miles an hour? No. That is going to be a very ex-human on the road.
Exactly.
Totally
agree.
So, if you want to be, and I've said this so many times, if you want the roads to be safer, if you want to reduce accidents, if you want to reduce pedestrian injuries or worse, yes, making the car safe is one part of that equation, but it shouldn't be the entirety of it. You should educate drivers. You should train drivers more than... America is one of the worst offenders of it.
That's true.
It is laughably easy to give someone the keys and get a license to operate a motor vehicle.
Yep.
And there's no restriction on what they can drive. You turn 17, you can drive a little Ford Focus hatchback, or you can get behind the wheel of a freaking Suburban.
Mm-hmm. Or you can get behind the wheel of a 1,000 horsepower sports car. You can, but a 17-year-old doing that, not a smart idea.
It's not necessarily... Yes, generally speaking, we are dumb until we hit... Well, I'll let you know.
Well, they say frontal lobe isn't fully developed till you're 25.
Right, but I'll let you know when I mature.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Not sure it's happened for me yet either. So, science.
No problem. But yes, that does take some into consideration, especially if you and I have experience of this. Being a teenage kid, sometimes the brain doesn't have priority on the blood supply. If you kind of catch what my meaning.
Yes.
But on the flip side, training.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, if you pass a written test, have 6 hours with a professional, and pass the driver's test on your 17th birthday or whatever,
go drive.
You have a license. Yes, in New Jersey, it is quote unquote a provisional license, which restricts the number of occupants and how late you can actually drive.
No.
By yourself. If you have a licensed motorist, you can drive. You can, obviously, that changes. 6 hours. Now, don't get me wrong. Most people drive for more than that with their learner's permit.
Right.
But it's not required.
Right.
You're not required to learn anything about vehicle dynamics. You're not required to learn, sure, Mr. Hubblegook might teach you how momentum is always conserved, but you don't know how that applies in a motor vehicle. You don't get how at 45 miles an hour it takes you X amount of distance to stop. Nor do you have any sort of real world knowledge of what you might know that at 45 miles an hour it takes the Gregson 9000 180 feet to stop. What the that's one of the things that pisses me off about GPS.
Good car.
In 200 feet, turn left. I'm not measuring anything in feet in the car. Everything I have is by the mile. It's a tenths at the smallest increment.
Yeah. How about take the next right turn? Ooh, super easy to understand. But user experience and user interface, it's lacking in like everywhere. But I think I'll make one more point, and I think that we can move on. Just to get my 2 cents in, is the first thing I ever wrote on shifting lanes, and it's now gone to the ether since we're nuking the site and doing something different. But the first thing, you're muted.
Oh, about 3 weeks ago, it went to the great beyond.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the first thing I ever wrote on shiftinglanes.com was every single person needs to retake their driver's test every year. And here's why. And it was 3 paragraphs on why. And it was basically like, drivers suck just in general, especially in this country. Like most people don't care about driving. That was the original point I made. Like, it's part of the reason why self-driving is being pushed so hard, is because they're trying to make cars appliances, and they're just not. They are legitimately the biggest yardstick of civilization at this point, to be able to like get to work, get to places, and like exist for a larger transport, vehicle. But you need to change the human and change the mindset, not the tool that they're using. And unfortunately, that will never change. Like, you cannot take 300 million people and be like, hey, driving is important. You should care about it. Here's why. And we're going to make you do it. No one's going to do that. That people also don't like being told what to do. So being told that they need to make driving a priority and important in their lives, like enthusiasts do, it's not going to go over well, nor will it ever happen. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you do need to change the mentality, not the tool, but it's easier to change the tool than the mentality. And that's sort of the road we've gone down, unfortunately. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, let me put it to you this way. How many hours of training did you get at your job before they said, okay, to go do your job?
A lot.
And how often do you have to go and say, okay, we need to, as far as not necessarily the product, but the methodology in which you do this, how often do you have to go and get retrained on that?
Well, not anymore. 0.
Thanks, Greg.
I know. Sorry.
But in most...
My job is my job's like sort of an N of 1 here, because it's marketing. Like, once you get it and you get experience in it, you don't need to get retrained on any of that. However, you do need to be, to your point though, I do need to be up to date on, if I change brands, I do need to go in, learn the brand, learn what the drug or therapy does. So there is additional training. It's more of just like myself going in and learning like what it does, as opposed to like getting actually trained on it, if you will. There's more to it.
Right.
You're right.
The whole point I'm trying to say is that number one, I honestly feel that there needs to be more instruction. And there needs to be more instruction on the type of vehicle you drive.
Yep.
But more in general, just more. And I'm not saying motoring enthusiasts and people who drive in an enthusiastic fashion, we start to learn things like momentum, and how when we go into a corner, how the front outside wheel loads up. All right. Or how when you brake, the back end gets light. And all of that stuff. Stop. Oh, Greg did his thing where he turned himself off.
There I go.
Like, you need to
I'm back.
understand all of that stuff. You need to understand the difference in surfaces. I'm not sitting here and saying you need to know the formula for the coefficient of friction, or I think it's coefficient of friction drag. But like how just the dip. We all know that snow on the road versus water on the road versus dirt and stuff on the road, right? We kind of get that. But there's little things too that like you need to be in. So fresh all asphalt after a rainstorm is going to be much slicker than aged asphalt. And I'm like, a lot of this stuff, if you put it, is a teenager going to retain all of these things when he's thinking about, man, I can't believe how good Susie looked yesterday. I'm sorry, what did you say about the engine and grip and all that? Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
but what it's going to instill is a notion of, holy shit, there's a lot to this. This is important. I need to pay attention.
Yeah.
And then like the last thing I'll say about it is that I think there should be tiered licenses. I think there should be a license that lets you drive an average car, a crossover, or what have you. Because frankly, if we sat here and said that, okay, Gregson Jr. the fourth, here's your license, but you can only drive compacts, and your family doesn't own a compact, it's kind of unfair. In the sense that, you know, they can't drive any of your vehicles should they need, like, their license is useless for you unless you go out and buy another car. But a mid-size car, mid-size crossovers and stuff, I think I have most of the world covered. And if you want to drive a full-size pickup truck, if you want to drive a full-size SUV, if you want to drive a quote-unquote performance car, there is criteria to it. So like a truck and a big SUV, you go to further training and understand how those big-ass vehicles have a lot of momentum, all this stuff. Performance car, okay, you've been on the road for 2 years, you don't have any accidents, you don't have any tickets, let's just take this quick test to see if you know what you're doing. Okay, you are now qualified to get this education on performance vehicles and horsepower and all this other sort of stuff, right? Like, not for nothing, but I get this stuff sort of costs money or what have you, but on the flip side, you know, depending on who's in office, it'd be fairly easy to find a way to say, hey, state funded, we're saving the lives of the children. Do you care about the children? Do you?
You should care about the children.
You know, cue a sad Sarah McLachlan music, and every year, blah, blah, blah. And I'm making light of something that's not, that's
Right.
obviously a tragedy that happens way too often in this country. But the point of the matter is that, like, if we're going to sit here and require that you need training for X, Y, and Z, or the fact that most of these kids are getting more training on the sport they're playing, the instrument they're playing, the club that they're a part of, whether it be like chess club or debate club or what have you. They're getting more training in that, and then they're hopping in a vehicle, which is effectively a loaded gun.
Right. That's the way my dad always teed it up. Is just like handing you the keys to a car is basically like handing you a loaded gun, and that's the honest to God truth, because you literally could just go mow someone down.
Yeah. So we've talked about this a lot. Let's talk about stuff that isn't depressing and European.
That's a good call. Hey, you want to talk about electric vehicles?
No.
Well, we are going to, but it actually has to do with why the president of GM thinks an electric Corvette is not necessarily a thing that's going to happen right now. So with Mustang and Corvette and Supra and like all these like sports cars, we've always heard about like spin-offs, right? Like the four-door Mustang. We've heard about Corvette being transformed into its own brand, where it's got the Corvette, the original, an SUV attached to it, blah, blah, blah. So part of that conversation has been just an all-electric Corvette because, well, now we have a hybrid Corvette in the E-Ray, right? We have a new ZR1, the ZR1X, the regular, C8. We have C8 Z06. So naturally, you would think, oh, well, Chevy's going to make an all-EV Corvette, right? Well, they have the hybrid. Why wouldn't they make an all-EV Corvette? But apparently, and this goes back to Mark Royce, which was on the Inside EVs podcast, and that's where we got the information from my my reel yesterday. Was they also talked about a Corvette, an EV Corvette, and if it's coming soon. And he basically put the kibosh on it in a really interesting way. He said, yes, it can be done. I think it can be done. And the direct quote is, we've shown a slew of concept cars that were electric based. I wouldn't say propulsion system is something that was true to form on those concept cars, but they were very interesting and allowed us to do a lot of different things with form and design and the aesthetic piece. But he also went on to say an electric Corvette that we can do what a Corvette is supposed to do is not easy right now. What I'm talking about is when you get into mass from a vehicle dynamic standpoint, when you get into thermal performance, you can make advances in those, which we have, but I'm not sure the character of the Corvette and our buyer of the Corvette is ready to be the recipient of that effort quite yet. End quote. And this is sort of what we've talked about recently with companies going back on their EV plans, but also with buyers just outright rejecting cars that are trying to either downsize or go all EV. And a great example of that was Mercedes with the E63 AMGs, where they made it a 4-cylinder hybrid, which had the most performance from a horsepower standpoint ever. And buyers were like, nope, give me that V8. And Mercedes was like, okay, they're bringing it back. So it's interesting to see the president of GM acknowledge that an EV Corvette is being developed, but their buyers would definitely not want it. And that leads me to believe that most of these companies are still going to have EV stuff, but it is eventually going to live alongside internal combustion for a lot longer than I think people realize is going to happen.
I think a lot of this EV stuff, or the fact that we got an electric Charger, that they were talking about an electric Corvette, that they're talking about potentially not real, but like a Mustang that is electric that isn't a crossover.
Like an actual Mustang.
Like Mustang, yeah,
an actual
shape
one.
And,
yeah,
I think the reason for a lot of this sort of stuff was, again, a second time, but like previous regimes.
Yeah.
And this whole 2035 mandate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it's like, do we want the Mustang name? Do we want the Charger nameplate? Do we want the Corvette nameplate to disappear because we are unwilling to fully electrify it?
Right.
Obviously, a lot of that stuff has been relaxed. I'm not here to comment on the good, the bad, or the whatever of it. But you combine that with the fact that, like you said, consumers, I mean, look at the Challenger Charger. They made an EV. Nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, no one wants it.
A biblical, it will go down as one of the all-time blunders in the automotive industry. I'm not saying electric cars are bad. I'm just saying, know who you're selling to.
Yeah, your audience is who you're buying.
Look at how much
buying your stuff.
Look at how much crap Corvette got for going mid-engine.
Yeah, and that's still an engine.
That was even still a pushrod V8. Like,
right, exactly. Like, it's still a.
I'm sure there are people
car
out there who would love to see the flags of Corvette on an electric vehicle because of what electric vehicles can do.
Sure.
Sure, there's someone out there.
Yeah. There's a faction. A small faction.
Right. It's just, at the end of the day, car companies are businesses. They're here to make money. And like, Roy, welcome, my friend. Certain vehicles should have V8s. Certain vehicles don't necessarily need a V8. But when it comes to Mustang, Challenger, Charger, Corvette, if the Camaro ever makes a comeback, those are vehicles that the V8 is intertwined into the soul of the car. It's intertwined in what those cars are. Meaning that a Mustang without a V8 isn't a Mustang. I understand that you have the EcoBoost and they make good power and RTR just did one, blah-diddy-blue-diddy-blah. If that was the only Mustang, it would die in a year or 3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If Corvette was like, look at all the success Ford had with the GT, and my God, they're trading for $500,000 or more now. People clearly don't mind a V6 where a V8 goes. The next Corvette is going to have a twin turbocharged V6 as the base engine.
No one would care.
You have to understand who you're dealing with. And I say this all of the time. Horsepower and miles per gallon, you can design an engine for horsepower. If you detune it, it will be incredibly efficient.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you don't even need to detune it. Look what Corvettes do on the highway. Like, if you look at C5s and C6s, they get 30 mpg on the highway. Why? They're a very slippery car. The engine is very stout. It's not stressed at all. It's revving at insanely low RPMs in top gear. Like, it's pretty easy to make a car that is not insanely heavy, that is a good performance car with a good engine, that does decent miles per gallon on the highway. It's part of the problem is twofold. And you mentioned regimes. Like it almost makes me feel bad for the car companies, even with how many billions of dollars they make, because they're kind of stuck between this rock and a hard place over the last 20 years, really, of, well, we're going to do this.
All right, we lost Greg. We're gonna do this, and he's out. Hold on one sec. Let me see if I. Oh my gosh! Never, ever a dull moment. There he is.
Technology failed me.
Stop that.
I don't know what's happening. The screen just goes black. My internet's fine. I don't know what's going on.
But here's...
So the point I was trying to make, hang on. The point I was trying to make was I feel bad for these car companies because it's well, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this. And it's this constant tennis match of regulations versus deregulating. And I'm like, well, no wonder cars are so goddamn expensive, is because they're constantly changing the structure and infrastructure of what a car should be from a legality standpoint, that car companies just constantly change everything. And that in turn takes development, and in turn takes lots of money, and in turn makes the cost of everything go up. So like you have these car companies that are now selling, like you said, $50,000 new cars as like the average, and they're just like, well, that's what happens when you have constant change and no consistency. The other side of that is, well, why are we going towards XY future when we could have A, B, and C future that we've already had living alongside this new future? Like,
that's exactly it. Because we've said, one of the most efficient things you can do is keep an old car running.
Right. It's already been built. Those resources don't need to be used again.
Right. And piggybacking off of this, Why does there need to be an electric Corvette at all? Why does there need to be an electric Mustang?
just
Why can't it
doesn't.
be its own thing? Why can't they build their own, like, say what you will about Tesla. They didn't exist, and now when you think EV performance, right or wrong, you think of them.
Yeah, totally.
With clever marketing, with getting your product out to the right people, by knowing your audience,
Yep.
you can create something from nothing and turn it into pretty big. Especially if you have the resources of a GM, of a Ford, of a pick an auto manufacturer. So, like, it's just one of those things where, like, number one, I like hearing this from an executive. Ford has made similar sentiments about how the V8 will always be in the Mustang unless, like,
unless it's illegal, literally.
You know, or until the day that they, you know, the armed police show up at Ford's doorstep. Stop that!
The car Gestapo.
Yeah. You know, so it's like I said, leave these things alone. I don't need a Mustang SUV. I don't need a four-door Mustang. I think it would be cool. I think the idea of a V8 four-door sedan that uses a Coyote is a pretty...
That's cool.
That's a pretty cool thing.
But we don't need it.
I think that concept is needed.
Yes.
The four doors, Coyote power up front, performance oriented.
A la Chevy SS. Totally. I'm on board with that.
I'm on board with that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a Mustang.
Right, exactly. Like, call it the Ford Falcon. You know,
Shocking.
Same thing with the Corvette. Like, it doesn't need to be a Corvette. Call it the Chevy. That should have been the fucking Chevy Bolt. Like, that's a cool ass name for an electric sports car. Why not call it that? Like,
or here's a crazy idea. You stop getting cutesy with this fucking the Bolt, the Volt, the E-Ray, the
right.
You know, whatever. Just call it a car.
Right.
That just so happens to be electric. If that's the way you make electric cars go mainstream, is you stop making them
Forced speciality.
not even that, but what's like almost the baked in smuggery of it, like like the South Park episode with the Prius and stuff like that, right? Like
All time Graz immediately would came into my brain.
Like EVs have claimed very, very good at getting market share. You know, it's 1 in 6, 1 in 7 cars are EV right now, new. Which, if you go back 10 years and told someone that, they would laugh hysterically in your face for 3 days. That an EV would have this type of market share this quickly. Yeah. Now, obviously, they've found their plateau, so whatever. But, like, I don't even care if you make... Chevy makes an electric sports car. Call it the... I don't know... Francois. Tuned by Corvette. Or something.
Right.
You know, that's where, like... You know, and it's not badged engineering because that badge actually means something. Right. It's not like putting an M or an AMG badge on literally every single car you make. Guess what happens? The M and the AMG badge mean nothing.
Yeah, that's badge engineering.
You know, it devalues. Right. Have the brand that has value lift up other brands.
Yeah.
Because as we know, there's Team Mustang, there's Team Dark Horse, there's Team GTD, there's Team Corvette. So that's a team of engineers, and everybody kind of understands that they're the performance guys. Oh, they adapt. They worked on the suspension for this. This is going to be like any other EV I've ever done. Or they're going to have the idea of this is going to be a lightweight EV, or this is going to be a this, or this is going to be a that, or what have you. Like, use that to prop other stuff up instead of just being lazy and slapping the badge everybody knows on, just so you have that 3-week period where everybody's arguing over it on the internet.
That's why I loved this when it came out, because it's a Volvo V60 and it says engineered by Polestar. Like, okay, well, now I know now I know there's something special to it, as opposed to just the Volvo Polestar, whatever it would have been. To go with this example, right? The V60 engineered by Polestar. Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Like, what does that mean? So I agree. I think you're sort of devaluing just by slapping M or AMG on everything. But like, the Francois tuned by Corvette, like that's cool because Corvette has their hands on it. And it, like, a famous example is the Audi. What was that? Was it the A2 wagon or whatever it was? It was like Porsche basically built the engine for them.
Porsche didn't build the engine for them. They built the car.
Well, right, but what they did is there's only one place on the entire car where Porsche is mentioned, and it's under the hood. You have it right on the engine, and that's it.
Yeah, Porsche sent them the.
But there's like something really special to that, like, because it's very unique, it's very subtle, but you know that Porsche had their hands on that car, and that's very cool.
It's understated cool.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody wants the guy who's sitting there saying, shouting, "Look at me! Look at my car!" And that's what modern.
That's what slapping an M badge on everything is.
Right, like that was actually a really cool era because Porsche was building that car. Mm-hmm. They were building their own cars, and they were building the 500e. All at the same time.
Yep, 100%. Pretty cool.
Which, that's the thing about Porsche not a lot of people understand. And we have a little bit of time, so I do want to get into 2 more additional things, if you'd be so kind as to indulge me.
No, bye.
I know where you live. I'll switch to mobile, and it's like, tonight on Shifting Lanes Garage, we actively track Greg. Porsche is not only a manufacturer of vehicles, they're an engineering consulting company.
Right.
So, like, everybody takes a dump on the 924. But people seem to like the 944, which was an evolution of the 924. But at any rate, they dump on the 924 because it's got all these Volkswagen parts. Well, it wasn't supposed to be a Porsche. It was supposed to be a Volkswagen. That's why it has all the Volkswagen. It has Volkswagen engine, door handles, switches, knobs, stuff. And somehow Porsche took all of that and made it into a decent little sports car. And then Volkswagen's like, we don't have them. Oh, it's got an Audi engine. Sorry. And Porsche turned it into something. And then when Volkswagen's like, yeah, we're not going to do it they're like, okay, well, we're going to buy the rights to it back and produce it. Like I said, they've worked with Benz, they've worked with Audi, someone else they've worked with, and I'm forgetting, and I'm not going to drag too long trying to think about it. But while we're talking about the Corvette, and like one of the last things I'll say is it was just confirmed 12 minutes ago that a C8R or 2 will be competing in the 2026 Bathurst 12 Hour.
Ooh. Yes.
Like, the Bathurst 12 has always had a weird rule where it wasn't the most... It was a year behind. It was still operating in the 2025. And then the 2026 cars came after it. But it's cool to see Corvette go over there. Because the Bathurst 12 Hour...
Yes.
That... Oh, my gosh. That month, you have Daytona 24, Bathurst 12. I mean, obviously before that, you have the quote-unquote start of the endurance race, or the start of the motorsport season in the Middle East somewhere, which Daytona 24 marks the start of the motorsports season.
Yep.
Then you have then you have Bathurst, which that's how I first found out about Bathurst was the GT3 race there, and then I learned about supercars. And spoiler alert to those of you watching, we might be getting an even bigger Australian motorsports education very soon. So you're definitely going to want to stick around
Yes.
for that. And then I came to supercars and stuff like that. But I think it's super cool with Corvettes over there and racing. Because I just think it's fucking badass. And then lastly, since we were talking about Porsche, Porsche's working on a W12, huh, Greg?
They sure are. Well, so apparently, according to more things that I've read about this, it could fit 9, 15, or 18 cylinders as well, because it's literally like 3 inline engines. So you could have a W15 if you wanted to get 3 5-cylinder inlines if you really wanted to. But like 9 is like, oh, there's 3 3s, 15, 3 5s. I mean, 18, 3 6s. Like you could do a whole bunch of different layouts with this thing. But
you could have a 6, a 9.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot. So, but it's a true W. It's a W in shape, obviously. That's what the patent filing says, and it's freaking cool looking. It's wild. But will this ever come to any car? Probably not. But you know what? Porsche filing a patent for a W-shaped engine is pretty freaking cool in my book.
It's still so in just general appearance, it looks a lot like the I forget the name of the guy who built the engine, but you mentioned it in your video, the Life F1, which is a hilarious story of a team that's like they are the worst Formula One team, not that far behind Andrea Modena, I think. Anyway,
I think it's Moda. Yeah.
but they tried 12 they tried in 12 races to they didn't race in Formula One. They tried 12 times.
Yeah.
And Formula One had a pre-qualifying process where you had to make a minimum speed, and they didn't. And one of the times, they were 6 or 7 minutes slower than the
oh my god.
But this engine, I wanted to talk about this engine because I think I think one of the coolest things about this is, number one, it's a W engine, which I think is cool, right?
Yeah.
It's cool to see unique engine layouts. I do have this sneaking suspicion that this is kind of more of like a test bed. For if you look at this picture,
Agree. Yeah.
Let's see if I can open it in a new tab. If you look at this image, right? I'll blow it up. All of the intakes are literally sitting on top of the cylinder head. Because one of the problems with this design is where do you put the intake manifolds? Because inevitably one of the intake manifolds is going to either be really far away from the others, or it's going to be right next to an exhaust manifold. Which obviously hot exhaust air next to intake air, you don't want that.
Right.
So like this is a clever way around it. And then I'm looking around it and I'm like, wait a minute. It's got 6 exhausts. Which means that I don't know how, I'm guessing we'll just say, I don't know enough, but we'll just say for the sake of me explaining this without going into crazy technical detail, it has 4 valves per cylinder. So that means one exhaust valve is feeding this side of the exhaust, if we're looking at the lowest one, and one exhaust valve is feeding the top one. So that is insane.
Yeah, it's Porsche. I mean, they're gonna get some wild designs, but like this is even wild for them.
Like, So that makes me start to think that they're trying to test different, like this intake idea and the exhaust idea. Like, well, we can test a bunch of this stuff and might as well throw it in a weird configuration because we can stress it differently, or it'll be stressed more than what we eventually like. Is this the future of a V8? Is this going to be some sort of flat engine where like the intakes are hanging out,
Right.
like where the intakes are just hanging out in front of your front wheels? I'm kidding, of course, but like I just think it's crazy cool. From a like, who else is working on reinventing internal combustion engines?
I mean, not a lot of people. Porsche seems to really be at the forefront of that because they're also at the forefront of synthetic fuels. So
Right.
like they are definitely like they are dabbling in EVs. Obviously, they have the Taycan and other stuff, but like they are very much in the internal combustion camp to be like, we don't need EVs to achieve carbon neutrality. Like, and Porsche's definitely pushing for that for sure.
Yeah, I just think, um, like it's not like it's just, again, it's just the comedy of errors is not the right thing, but it's the combination of everything: the exhaust, the intakes, the engine layout itself. Because in theory, because if you've noticed, a lot of these Ferrari, McLaren, they've gone to wider angle V's for the V6 engines. So like the V angle on this isn't extreme if you look at just the outside. I don't know why I'm pointing with my finger because that literally correlates to nothing. Um, like the angle of the V, I know it's a white cursor on a, but um, why not put another bank of cylinders in there? And
I
then
mean, you could.
Sean goes, since we have W engines, where are the X engines? They're called radial engines. They used to be in airplanes. And one of the problems they suffer from is if you don't have some sort of device to manage oil, all of the oil drains into the bottom two banks of cylinder heads. And it's not at the top.
Yeah,
So,
not good.
but no, I thought that was really cool.
It is cool. I hope that they play around with more patents like this because like I love stories like this because most of them are wild because you can kind of just let your imagination run wild and just throw a patent at it. Like I love when Ford brings out stupid crazy shit like this because they have so many, like that one with airbag bumpers. Like who's gonna friggin' use that? It's hilarious. But
I'm
you
going to
know
have to
what?
correct you on that. The time they came out with literally fitting claymores to the front of
Yes,
their cars.
correct. I mean, they have what was the other one where it was a Bronco patent where you would be able to like go out of the top of your car and still drive it because it gives you better angle of sight when you're off roading. And I'm just like, what even is? Why not just put the seats on the roof? Like, what the fuck are we doing? I love these patent ideas from car companies like this because it's almost like they're giving them like a free day of just thinking. It's like, okay, here's $20,000. Put a bunch of engineers in a room and let them come up with crazy shit. I love that. And this is sort of along the same lines because, like, who is thinking of a W12 engine right now? Nobody. It's awesome.
The Germans.
The Germans. It's so great. I love that.
Yeah. As some people will know, I'm a bit of an engine nerd. If you haven't been able to tell by my content, of which tomorrow's video to anyone watching, but tomorrow's video, there's a company out there making V10 LS engines.
Holy shit.
Highlights 1,000 horsepower naturally aspirated.
So awesome.
So stuff like that is just so freaking cool. But is there anything else you'd like to tell the gentleman?
I don't think so. I think I've pretty much exhausted um, my brain power for the day.
Fantastic. Well, get that one little red brain cell working because to send us out, Greg, what is your dad advice for the week?
Let's see. My dad advice for the week is to remember things that you should remember, because I didn't remember to do any of that again for this week. But I guess a good one is for a lot of college kids, getting back into school, and as someone that did many things after midnight that are not good. Nothing good happens after midnight, and that is a really good piece of advice.
Ted Mosby.
Ted Mosby, yeah, but it's true. It really is true. It is one of those things where, you know what, you're having a lot of fun, you're drinking, you're partying, blah blah blah. Just try to keep your wits about you. Nothing good really doesn't happen. Nothing good happens after midnight, really, for the most part.
I'll put a cherry on top of that. Basically,
Yeah.
nothing good happens after midnight. However, if it's after midnight and you're transitioning location for the quote unquote after party,
Yes.
that's when things go awry.
Yeah, agree with that. And
Don't worry, folks. I have found a link of, I think it says 39 different pieces of dad advice. So
excellent.
we should be covered into next year.
Outstanding.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for watching, commenting, all of that sort of fun stuff. I'm Chad. That's Greg. Definitely pay attention to the Shifting Lane socials, because we could have something very, very big coming very, very soon as far as this particular show is concerned. So not going to want to miss it. I'm pretty stoked. But it's actually... I don't want to jinx it, but the most impressive, and I know Tony's in chat. I love you, brother. What you've done with True Game Data and all that sort of programming stuff is nuts. This individual is arguably our most impressive guest ever. So hopefully it works out. But yeah. But on that note,